Hi, this is Celeste from the Celestial Report, and we are going to do a nano moment. And by popular request, you all wanted to know a little more in about, did I mess that up, John?
No, no, carry on. You're good.
Okay. So by popular request, we are going to do a mini deep dive, just a few moments on graphene. And the first thing that you need to know about graphene in 2022 is that it is everywhere. It is in the air, and it's known as aerogel. It may also be known as other names. It is in all commercial food. It is being used as a filtration system to filter out microplastics, but it imparts some of the part of the hydrogel into the water filtration system. It is in the environment. It is in, when I did the I know I'm getting my tongue tied today here. So please forgive me. So it's in our fabrics and it's in our coffee mugs. It's just in just about everything. And it has some very unique capabilities. And so that's what we're going to look at in this episode of Nano Moments. So the first thing is I am going to shut up. Ugh. I have been a bad day, John. I got to get back into the studio, into the Zoom, because I can't share screen. With what I've got now, I see myself, but I cannot see.
Okay, click the bar on the top of your keyboard there, and that bar will take you back into the Zoom meeting.
Which bar?
Top of your keyboard.
Okay. There I am. Oh, thank you. This one will have to be edited. Okay, so right now I'm going to go to share screen so that you can follow along. This is from my email. Like I said, sometimes it's not pretty, but I get the information out. So let's go to my screenshot, and I can tell you that the computer has not been behaving itself lately. So there is my email. There it is. So you should be able to see my email right now. And like I said, it's not pretty, it's very rough, but we're going to learn about graphene. So it has a very high electrical conductivity. It's like this super lightning rod, it will receive, and it has the ability to transmit. It has all these other different electronic properties. And how does it get that? It's the way that it is bonded and anti-bonded. So basically those bonds where something is glued together, they play with those a little bit, tweak them, and that gives these really unique electronic properties to graphene. It can have a zero density or a zero mass state, which, it could, be as tangible as my cell phone, or it could be as ethereal as an angel or a ghost, if you will. Graphene electrons act very much like photons. Photons are light in their mobility due to their lack of mass. So that means that graphene, technically, as we go through, as it's advanced, technically, let's say you have graphene in you, we might see the day where you could go through a wall because you don't have mass, or that would stop you. You would be configured, let's say, in a way much like the Invisible Man. And I know I date myself with that reference. So graphene is a semi-metal with these unusual electronic properties. And basically, they are considered massless relativistic particles. And they exhibit large quantum oscillations. So, of course, there are particles and there's waves. And so graphene does play with that, and we'll see that in a few minutes. And for quantum computing and things, it can do things that have been unknown before. Graphene strongly absorbs light, all visible wavelengths of light, basically making it like the black hole. And that does account for its black color, the color of graphite. Most of us were familiar with the little graphene or graphite pencils that we used when we were younger. And a single graphene sheet is nearly transparent because of its thinness. So it, like I said, it doesn't, even though it's one like molecule thick, it is transparent because of its mass. So it's 100, I was going to say 1,000, but it's 100 times stronger than the strongest steel per thickness. And once again, in graphene, there's some things that you want to know about it. And I'm not going to click all these, but you could do your deep dive. If you are interested in this document, you can put graphene in the subject line, celeste@celestialreport.com, and I can just send it to you, and then you can hyperlink and go down the rabbit trail if you will like. But like I said, they tweak with the bindings, the glue, the very glue of creation, because they're putting graphene in everything now. So we know that they are. And 2 years ago, the World Economic Forum and some military said that they were going to be playing with novel geometries. So it does have some particular things that it can do with these novel geometries, playing with many different things. It can also, the stability, it can be stable or unstable depending on the form that it's in. So what are the different things that it can be in the properties? Of course, it can have the electronic properties, as we just mentioned, the permittivity, I don't know what that is, optical. So like I said, because it plays with light, it can make something dark, black, or it can make something transparent, invisible. The new Valkyrie autonomous jet plays with light due to its graphene exterior, and it literally can go invisible. Excitronic, I'm going to be talking about this in the days to come, so you might just put it under your hat. So I'm not going to go into it right now, but like I said, if you want to do a feel free to email. There's also a spin transport. There's something called spintronics. It has unusual magnetic properties that it can exploit. It has thermal conductivity. So not only does it conduct electricity, but it can conduct cold, heat, harvest cold or heat, depending. It's basically energy. And that's what we're going to be. I had a guest on Friday, and it will be posted very soon. And it is his belief that the technocrats the ultimate currency is going to be based upon energy, not energy like oil, but the energy of life, if you will. And I can see that with what I'm seeing in the documents and these various technologies. It has mechanical capabilities, you know, like that hydrogel. It's got those 33 classifications of robots. They probably have many more now. So there's that mechanical, it can act like a motor, that type of thing. It has different chemical properties, so it can mimic different things that are in nature, but they are actually synthetic or artificial. It has biological. Once again, there's that fusion of biology and robots, or humans and machine, or plant and machine, whatever they want to fuse together. It can be a support substrate. And remember the nanocubes that I talked about, if they basically have a substrate. And so we're talking about that substrate. So graphene is the bottom substrate. And then they take actually some graphene ink, and they can do images, they can do writing, they can do transfer of ownership, they can do pictures. The authors can even put their signature in there. They can, and they probably do. So what types of forms does graphene come in? It comes in a monolayer sheet. That's, I can't remember, it's like one molecule or one atom. It's just one layer sheet. Those are very costly to produce. There's also the bilayer graphene sheets, those are easier to do. So then the bilayer can then be it can be amplified to used in 3D printing. It can be used in, I actually am hearing about 4D situations where they printed something 3D but has like a fourth dimension. It can be turbo stratitic. Once again, I don't know what that one is. There's graphene superlattices. That looks like the honeycomb picture. It's usually octagon, and it looks like honeycomb. And then there's the graphene nanoribbons. That's just one of the types of the graphene that gets into our body that can fold out and in, depending if they're, especially this is used in protein engineering. There's the graphene quantum dots. Now those are the colorful ones. Hydrogel is more the neutral tones, and quantum dots are the more flashy. So if things that look unusually colorful are those quantum dots. There's graphene oxide. And then, of course, what they can do is use the graphene to modify the chemicals. And actually, graphene can morph. It's like a super shapeshifter, if you will. So it can change chemicals both within itself and without. There's graphene ligands and complexes. That's also in tissue engineering, as they reorganize you as they fuse the human being with the machine. There are graphene fibers. You're seeing lots of images of these strange fibers, both in certain pharmaceutical products, but also Morgellons for a long time, and other types of fibers in masks. Some seem to be sentient. And so those are these graphene fibers. There's the 3D graphene. I think that is from the 3D printing. There's pillared graphene, where it's stacked. Of course, the elite really like pillars. It's a vertical integration system. Then there's reinforced graphene where they have a brace or something behind it. And there's molded graphene. Graphene comes in all shapes. It comes in triangles and rectangles and circles. And we're going to see some pictures of it. It can be molded into any form. There is the aerogel, and that is the form. That's right here. This is the aerosolized graphene that is in the sky and getting into our respiratory tracts and doing various pathological missions. Then there's the graphene nanocoils, and with that, they can do amplification of the electronic part of properties of the graphene. And there's crumpled graphene. I did not look that up, and I'm not going to go there right now. I don't know what crumpled graphene is, but in the days to come, just pay attention. And if you now you know that there is such a thing as crumpled graphene. So there's different production methods. There's the mechanical, producing it mechanically. There's a splitting of the monolayer carbon. There's chemical, the different ways they use the chemicals. There's a chemical vapor deposition. There's the carbon dioxide reduction. There's the supersonic spray, the laser, flash joule heating, and ion implantation, and CMOS compatible graphene. That, I believe, is your operating system that is embedded within the graphene to basically turn whatever gets the graphene into an operating system. And then there's simulations, there's analogs. There is a little bit on toxicity, although really not much. So right here, the last, really not very much. 2016, there was a study on the graphene family of nanomaterials, and it revealed that they cause things like physical destruction, oxidative stress, DNA damage, inflammatory response, apoptosis, that's programmed cell death, autophagy, and necrosis, that's the dying of cells, where it turns, your skin might turn black. There is a 2020 study that shows that toxicity of graphene is dependent on several factors that include the shape, the size, the purity, the post-production process steps, the oxidative state, the functional group, the dispersion state, the synthesis method, the route, and the dose of administration, as well as the exposure time, much like radiation. So there's a 2014 study that showed that looked at graphene nano ribbons, and they're basically called graphene nano onions. And this study said that it did not alter the bone marrow stem cells towards osteoblasts or bone, and adipocytes, which is fat. And that this study said that it was safe for biomedical applications, which, you know, somebody got paid in that particular one. But I wanted you to be aware that if you do go to the studies, you're going to see predominantly graphene safe, and you're not going to find very many studies that do go into the toxicity of graphene. You should know that graphene is often called a magical substance, and it has something that has been known actually for a long time. It's the Moret effect, and it's known to photographers, painters, and fashion specialists. It's an optical effect and of a figure composed of light and dark domains, resulting in a superposition of the two graftings. And so here is what is known as the twisted graphene moire effect. So it's pretty trippy on the eyes. I don't know, particularly like that. It's very interesting that once you get to the 2D, and remember there's something called twistronics craze, they may be able to create structures with the desired properties brick by brick, or to extrapolate knowledge acquired on simple materials such as graphene. I find this interesting because in the Hebrew, in scripture, there are the songs of the Bible are in a brick by brick formation. Most of the songs in the Bible, there is one song that it is parallel in a pillar formation, but it, once again, this is the great counterfeiter trying to counterfeit God's creation by doing this brick by brick using graphene. And I know that many of you, it went around the internet like wildfire. Scientists went public that there were little razor blades. You know, I was talking about that early 2020, but the hydrogel is very sharp. And if you had a microscope that of high enough power, you could see all these little sharp edges can just cut everything, just cut you to shreds. And they can do that in your cells, they can do it in your lungs, they can do it in your skin, they can do it in your immune cells and your organs, and they can do it to other animals, and I would say also to plants as well. And of course, there is something when you get a material such as graphene, there's a material safety data sheet, and they're saying that it is incomplete. And they do that purposefully. They say, oh, it might have a potential irritant to the skin and the eyes, and may be potentially hazardous to breathe or ingest, but it's really nothing to worry about. So you really, it's incomplete by design. They do know, in fact, what it does, but they're just not going to tell you. You're not going to have access to it. And this particular thing, and I really was having some technical difficulties so that I couldn't totally show it to you, but it's by sculptio.com, and it's about 3D Learning Hub, and it's about the 3D, 4D printing technology that I was just mentioning a few minutes ago. And it's actually quite interesting if you want to explore that on your own. So once again, whoops, okay. Once again, this is just a cursory look. It's to give you an idea of how comprehensive graphene is in our world right now, and that you need to look out for it. No, you can't 100% avoid it. The best thing is to not get concentrated forms of it, and to be aware of the different forms that it does have and the different influences that it will have over you and your loved ones, your pets, animals, plants, and even the environment at large. It is my personal belief that if you think microplastics are bad, graphene is going to dwarf microplastics. It's going to be huge environmental pollution to our planet to the degree that it may or may not be able to recover from. So that's it for this nano moment, and we will see you next time. Thank you for your interest.